The moment you truly understand the creative power of imagination, everything about the way you approach love begins to change. You no longer sit around hoping that someone will finally choose you, because within yourself, you have already accepted that they have. Instead of searching for proof in text messages, actions, or circumstances, you realize that the outer world is nothing more than a delayed reflection of the assumptions you continue to entertain. What you consistently feel to be true within eventually appears outside of you. The instant you begin living from the conviction that the person you desire is already completely and deeply in love with you, an invisible transformation begins. A different blueprint is impressed upon your consciousness, and consciousness always gives form to the state it occupies. If you consistently embody the feeling of being genuinely loved, life must eventually mirror that experience back to you. This is not about pretending or deceiving yourself. It is about recognizing that your inner reality is the true source of every outer experience. When you mentally and emotionally step into the fulfilled outcome before your senses can confirm it, you begin creating from the end rather than reacting to appearances. Most people have been taught that love must be earned through effort, persuasion, or constant pursuit. They believe they must prove their worth before they can be chosen. Yet the deeper truth is far simpler. The moment you accept yourself as already loved by the person you desire, your relationship with them begins to reflect that assumption. This is not because you are forcing another person's will. It is because, at the level of consciousness, separation does not truly exist. The version of them that you consistently experience in imagination becomes the version that gradually expresses itself in your physical life. Every individual responds to the role you repeatedly assign them within your inner conversations. If you continually imagine them as distant, uncertain, emotionally unavailable, or uninterested, reality faithfully reproduces that picture. But when you firmly settle into the belief that they adore you completely, you plant a new seed within consciousness, and every genuine seed carries within it the certainty of growth. What exists around you today is only the visible result of assumptions you held yesterday. Current circumstances are not permanent truths. They are simply delayed echoes of previous beliefs. Because of that, there is no reason to become discouraged by appearances. The instant you occupy a different state of consciousness, you begin shaping a different future. Once you genuinely experience the feeling of already being loved, life quietly starts arranging itself to match that inner reality. Acting as though they are already deeply in love with you is not a performance for other people. It is a commitment you make within yourself. Your thoughts naturally become calmer. Your reactions become more confident. The conversations you have in your own mind begin to change completely. Instead of replaying fears of rejection or wondering whether they care, you effortlessly imagine affection, commitment, and certainty. You stop hoping because hope implies something is still missing. Instead, you begin knowing, and knowing carries an entirely different energy. There is tremendous power in certainty, because certainty claims the desired outcome before the senses can deny it. Picture for a moment the experience of being genuinely treasured by the person you love. Feel the warmth of knowing that their heart belongs to you completely. Imagine them waking each morning with thoughts of you already filling their mind. Throughout their day, they naturally think about hearing your voice, sharing moments with you, and finding reasons to reach out. Picture them smiling whenever your name appears, making time for you without hesitation, choosing your company over distractions because being close to you feels effortless and natural. Allow that experience to become so vivid that it feels familiar instead of distant. As this assumption becomes normal within you, your entire energy changes. Anxiety begins to dissolve. Desperation disappears. You no longer chase attention because in your consciousness you have already received the love you desired. That quiet confidence influences everything about the way you show up in life. The greatest transformation never comes from saying the perfect words or following the perfect strategy. It comes from changing what you accept as true inside yourself. Your dominant assumption silently communicates itself in ways that go beyond logic or distance. According to Neville mindset, every person reflects the state you consistently hold regarding them. If you want different behavior from someone else, you must first become different within. Resist the temptation to obsess over when it will happen or how it will unfold. The moment you begin searching for explanations or timelines, you unknowingly return to the state of waiting rather than the state of already having. Fulfillment cannot grow from longing because longing constantly confirms absence. Fulfillment can only arise from the experience of already possessing what you desire. This is why living from the end is so transformative. It means embodying the emotional reality today rather than postponing it until evidence appears. In your imagination, receive loving messages from them with complete ease. Hear them calling your name with excitement. Listen as they naturally tell you they cannot stop thinking about you, and accept those words without surprise, because within your chosen reality, they already belong. This is not empty fantasy. It is the deliberate selection of the experience you wish to express. Everything visible first existed invisibly within someone's imagination before becoming fact. Every meaningful creation, every remarkable achievement, and every unforgettable love story began as an unseen idea. Imagination is not an escape from reality. It is the birthplace of reality itself. You do not require anyone else's approval to experience love. You do not need circumstances to make sense before you believe. Your only responsibility is to value your inner experience more than temporary appearances. When you remain faithful to that inner conviction, the external world gradually reorganizes itself to match it. Become the version of yourself who is already cherished beyond question. That version is not consumed by fear of loss, constantly checking for reassurance, or wondering what someone else is thinking. That version carries quiet confidence, genuine peace, and emotional stability. They move through life with the certainty that love is secure, unwavering, and natural. When you consistently embody that identity, everything around you begins responding to it. Instead of pursuing love, you become the person who naturally attracts it. Because the reality you experience will always mirror the reality you first accepted within yourself. You become the focal point of the experience. You become the person whose presence naturally draws them in. Every change begins within consciousness, because consciousness is the true origin of every outward event. If your desire is to experience someone who is deeply devoted to you, then you must first identify yourself as someone who is already completely loved. That identity cannot be postponed until tomorrow or reserved for some future circumstance. It must be embraced now. The feeling you cultivate today becomes the experience you encounter later. Your inner state is always the cause, while everything you witness in the external world is simply its delayed result. Many people exhaust themselves trying to rearrange the effects instead of transforming the cause. They analyze messages, overthink conversations, search for techniques, or attempt to influence another person's behavior. Yet none of those efforts can permanently change reality if fear and insecurity still dominate their inner world. The true work has never been external. It has always been the quiet work of changing what you accept as true within yourself. Once your inner identity is established, life naturally reorganizes itself around that assumption. As you begin living from the conviction that they already love you deeply, your entire sense of self shifts. You no longer see yourself as the one pursuing affection. Instead, you become the one who is naturally pursued. You stop waiting for reassurance because reassurance already exists within your consciousness. You replace uncertainty with confidence, searching with knowing, and hoping with quiet expectation. Although this transformation happens silently, its influence is unmistakable. The people around you begin responding to a different version of you because you are now relating to a different version of them. You cannot consistently imagine someone loving you wholeheartedly while continuing to expect rejection. The moment you assign them the role of someone who treasures you completely, You release every old story that kept them distant and allow a new reality to emerge through your assumptions. Every scene you create within your imagination becomes a cause that quietly moves reality toward its fulfillment. Each time you picture them smiling at you with affection, hear them expressing their love, or feel the warmth of their embrace, you are engaging in the only creative act that truly matters. You are rewriting the script that consciousness will eventually perform in the outer world. This is not about pretending something false. There is an important difference between pretending and living from an assumption. Pretending feels forced because it lacks belief, while living from an assumption is rooted in inner conviction. You are not trying to convince other people. You are simply accepting a new truth inside yourself. What matters most is not what you display publicly, but what repeatedly unfolds in your private thoughts. Those silent conversations you have throughout the day are constantly shaping your experience. If you can consistently return to the feeling of already being loved, even for a few peaceful moments each day, that feeling gradually becomes familiar. Once it feels natural, it begins expressing itself without effort. Close your eyes and experience the moment they openly reveal their feelings to you. Notice the sincerity in their eyes, the calm confidence in their voice, and the genuine warmth they radiate as they tell you exactly how much you mean to them. Allow yourself to feel the joy of that moment as though it has already taken place. Accept it as something inevitable rather than something uncertain. Your imagination is not disconnected from reality. It is the invisible foundation upon which reality is built. There is no outside force deciding your future independently of you. Your assumptions are the creative power. When you consistently assume they love you, reality begins arranging circumstances that express love. When you assume they value you, life reflects appreciation. When you assume they naturally want to be near you, reality selects the version of them that effortlessly moves toward you. Remain loyal to this new story until it feels like your normal way of being. Live from it each day. Celebrate it quietly within yourself before the world has caught up. Whenever doubt appears, and from time to time it will, treat it as nothing more than the fading echo of an old identity that no longer belongs to you. There is no need to argue with it or fear it. Simply return your awareness to the feeling of already being cherished. Return to the calm certainty that what you consistently assume eventually becomes your lived experience. According to the teachings shared through Neville Mindset, you are the creative force operating your reality. Nothing outside of you has greater authority than the beliefs you repeatedly accept. The only obstacle between you and the experience you desire is the habit of doubting your own creative power, and even that habit loses its strength the moment you choose a different state. Step fully into the identity of someone who is appreciated, desired, respected, and deeply loved. Speak with them lovingly in your imagination. Receive their affection with gratitude before it appears physically. Walk through each day with the quiet confidence of someone who no longer questions whether love exists, because they already experience it within. As you persist in this state, subtle changes begin unfolding. Their behavior softens, their attention naturally increases, conversations become warmer, they reach out more often and express feelings with greater openness. None of this feels forced because it grows from the shift you first created inside yourself. That is the true power of assumption. Love is not something that must be chased or earned. It is something you allow by accepting it as your present reality. And when the day arrives that they sincerely express the love you have already experienced within, you will recognize it not as luck or coincidence, but as the natural fulfillment of an inner state you faithfully occupied long before the outer world reflected it. You are gradually stepping into a completely new identity, one where love feels natural, effortless, and unquestionable. As that identity becomes established within you, your outer experience has no choice but to reflect it. Without realizing why, the person you desire begins sensing a quiet change inside themselves. Thoughts of you appear more often. They find themselves missing your presence, wanting your attention, and feeling an unexpected desire to reconnect. This shift is not created through force or persuasion. It happens because consciousness speaks in ways words never can. The image you consistently hold of them becomes the role they begin expressing in your experience. Suddenly, worries about distance, timing, competition, or difficult circumstances lose their grip on you, because those belong to an old version of reality that you have already left behind. In the state you now occupy, there is no rivalry, because you already know you are chosen. There is no separation, because in your imagination you are already together. There is no silence, because inwardly you already hear them reaching out with warmth and affection. As you continue to remain faithful to the assumption that they deeply love you, your presence becomes quietly magnetic. There is no desperation in you anymore, no chasing, no convincing, no emotional struggle. Instead of seeking their attention, you enjoy their affection within your imagination first, and that inner fulfillment naturally begins drawing its physical reflection toward you. You stop identifying as someone searching for love and begin identifying as someone who naturally receives it. Your inner conversations become filled with kindness rather than fear. Instead of repeating painful memories, you create scenes where they speak to you with tenderness, appreciation, and devotion. Rather than imagining distance, you picture closeness. Instead of revisiting disappointment, you replace it with experiences that feel comforting, intimate, and completely real. Your subconscious does not separate imagined experiences from physical ones. It simply accepts what you repeatedly impress upon it and faithfully brings that assumption into expression. As love becomes the dominant atmosphere within your imagination, something even deeper begins to change: your relationship with yourself. You naturally start believing you deserve affection, loyalty, commitment, and genuine appreciation. You begin speaking to yourself with greater compassion. You carry yourself with confidence that doesn't demand attention because it quietly knows its own worth. Decisions are no longer made from fear of rejection, but from the certainty that you are already valued. This transformation in self-concept is what anchors your new reality. Love no longer feels unpredictable or difficult. Instead, it begins feeling like your natural environment. You stop wondering whether they care because you already experience that care within yourself. That inner certainty becomes the invisible force drawing its physical counterpart closer each day. This is the quiet beauty of living as though your desire is already fulfilled. Anxiety slowly gives way to expectation. Doubt is replaced by confidence. Longing transforms into fulfillment before anything appears externally. Every lasting change begins within first. You are not waiting for another person to become different. You are becoming the version of yourself who effortlessly attracts the love you have always desired. Once that identity feels normal, reality faithfully reflects it. As you continue dwelling in the feeling of already being loved, the world itself begins appearing softer. Situations that once triggered insecurity lose their emotional weight because your inner foundation has changed. You react differently because you now feel differently. And because your feelings have changed, life mirrors those feelings back with remarkable accuracy. The instant your inner pattern changes, your outer circumstances quietly begin reorganizing themselves around it. Fear no longer dictates your responses. Confidence becomes your default. Old stories lose their influence while new ones, born from your chosen assumption, gradually become your lived experience. The most beautiful part of this process is that nothing needs to be forced. There is no struggle, persuasion, or emotional exhaustion required. The more comfortably you settle into the feeling that you are already deeply loved, the more naturally life aligns with that assumption. The fearful version of yourself gradually disappears like morning fog beneath the rising sun. In its place emerges someone who expects love, carries love, and expresses love in every thought they entertain. This identity radiates a quiet emotional abundance that others instinctively notice. Whether you are walking through your day, enjoying a peaceful moment alone, or simply going about ordinary routines, The feeling of being cherished remains with you. It becomes part of your presence. Even strangers may respond with greater warmth because they unconsciously recognize the shift in your energy. This is what happens when a state becomes your identity. Identity determines what you naturally attract. The person you desire begins feeling an unexplainable pull toward you. They may not understand why thoughts of you become more frequent, or why they suddenly feel inspired to reconnect. But consciousness always precedes physical behavior. The assumptions you repeatedly hold become the ideas they begin reflecting. At first, the evidence may seem subtle: a thoughtful message, lingering eye contact, a softer tone, unexpected attention. But you welcome these moments calmly because they no longer surprise you. They simply confirm what you already accepted internally. Living from the fulfilled state means the end result quietly shapes every interaction before it physically unfolds. The more faithfully you remain in this inner reality, the more clearly you understand that love is never something to chase. It is something you align with by consistently becoming the version of yourself who already possesses it. As this state grows stronger, your imagination becomes a trusted companion instead of an escape. It offers scenes of closeness, affection, commitment, and heartfelt connection, not as fantasies, but as previews of the reality already taking shape within consciousness. Every scene you emotionally accept becomes another instruction impressed upon your subconscious. Every loving inner conversation rewrites the script your outer world will eventually perform. You are no longer standing on the sidelines waiting to see what happens next. You have become the author of your experience. With each passing day, your confidence deepens because your trust is no longer placed in temporary appearances, but in the creative power operating within you. Questions about when it will happen or how it will unfold gradually disappear because they no longer matter. You already possess the feeling, and that feeling is enough. A profound realization quietly awakens. Love does not originate outside of you. It flows through others as a reflection of your own consciousness. You are the source, while circumstances simply become the channel through which that love is expressed. As your assumptions change, the person you desire naturally reflects those changes. They begin opening their heart more freely, speaking with greater warmth, and expressing affection in ways that once seemed impossible. Their transformation is not the result of force, but the natural consequence of the new image you consistently hold. Day after day, the invisible connection between you grows stronger. You feel their presence even before physical confirmation arrives, because your inner experience has already become your reality. Each time you return to the feeling of being loved, you strengthen that reality even further. The old identity built upon fear and doubt quietly fades away, replaced by someone who knows they are worthy of deep, unwavering love. Your trust in the unseen becomes stronger than your attachment to appearances, and that quiet certainty becomes the foundation upon which your entire experience continues to unfold.